What's good, YouTube? I'm back with another video. So I have my mic on mute for a little bit. Or drink water. Water, the best shit ever. But let's get to it, bro. We're talking about this: how the U.S. would defend itself if we ever got invaded. Grab some weed, man. Spark up, roll up. Let's get to it.
The sky over Seattle glows with fire and panic. At precisely 5:04 a.m., 3 high-altitude EMP detonations blind satellites and knock out the West Coast's power grid. Phones go dead, smart cars freeze mid-commute, and then the real nightmare begins. Cruise missiles, dozens of them, tear across Puget Sound, striking airfields, data centers, and power substations. Drone swarms buzz in from the Pacific, jamming radars and seeking out targets with terrifying precision. As the city reels, Russian commandos disguised as dock workers launch coordinated attacks on ports and infrastructure. Behind them, a Chinese amphibious force begins offloading troops and armor straight from retrofitted cargo vessels. Surveillance balloons hover high above, like ominous moons, feeding enemy commanders real-time imagery. It is the unthinkable made real. The homeland has been hit.
Now, the intro of this sounds scary and very, intimidating and shit. But the odds of Russia touching Seattle, that is a possibility, because Russia, you can see Alaska, is a possibility. But for them to touch our homeland, bro, and we don't know about it, or we oblivious to it, is damn well near impossible. They have to get past our Navy. They have to get past our Navy. It's not easy to get past our Navy. Then we're surrounded by water. We're not Australia surrounded, but we're surrounded by water on the east and the west side. That's not happening. So that's not happening. I mean, but hey, let's say we do get invaded.
A0. 4:30 a.m. Eastern. It's a normal spring morning when operators at North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, notice faint blips on the radar screens. High over the Pacific, U.S. infrared satellites detect the telltale heat plumes of multiple missile launches. Within seconds, computers identify them as a wave of incoming cruise missiles and short-range ballistic missiles, likely launched from enemy submarines and disguised cargo vessels positioned in international waters. What no one realizes yet is that this is not just a missile barrage. It is the opening move of a full-scale, coordinated Russo-Chinese invasion of Seattle. The goal is a rapid surgical bite-and-hold campaign to seize a foothold on the U.S. mainland. They want to push the American Navy out of the Pacific long enough to establish maritime dominance, and if they play their cards right, a temporary forward base on U.S. soil. Klaxons erupt through NORAD's Cheyenne Mountains Ops Center. This is not a drill. Phone trees and encrypted comms light up. In Washington, D.C., the president is urgently awakened and rushed toward a secure bunker as aides relay the staggering news. Day 0, 4:37 a.m. Eastern. Across the country, just 7 minutes later, Air Force and Air National Guard units spring into action. At least 16 air bases have fighters on strip alert under Operation Noble Eagle, the post-9/11 Homeland Air Defense mission. In Fort Worth, a pair of F-16s soar into the sky before their pilots are even fully awake. From Massachusetts to Hawaii, Ready Alert jets, F-15 Eagles, F-22 Raptors, and FA-18s from Navy stations are airborne within minutes, vectoring toward potential threat.
Nigga, that's not even within minutes. That's within seconds. Y'all don't understand. As soon as that EMP goes off, bro, everybody, the EMP is not touching all of America. Our landmass is massive. We got massive landmass. So once Seattle city get hit, bro, it's over. Every single air base within the facility or around the United States, from military to Navy bases, every single base releasing everything, going towards Seattle, and everything going towards the Pacific. Homeland got touched. And that's not even including civilians. Because our guns, I think, in America is 10-1, and 10 gun per civilian. And a lot of people don't even own guns. So it's it won't be that easy to invade us. Then you have to look at our land structure, to emulate the mountains, the mountains and shit, the lakes, all that shit. They have to get around all of that. You can't just send tanks and cargo boats and not boats, cargo ships and all that. Cargo cars and all that, and just through our land. You can't do it. You gotta get over them hills and mountains. There'll be roadblocks and blockades. How people be hiding in mountains. We got bases, military bases, secret bases within our mountains and hills, bro. It's not gonna be that easy.
Their immediate task is to intercept enemy aircraft, shoot down inbound missiles, and identify any possible follow-on threats. NORAD and the FAA jointly issue a national ground stop on all civilian flights, 9/11 style, but this time to clear the skies for what may become a prolonged air war over U.S. soil. Day 0, 4:45 a.m. Eastern. The first wave of missiles slams into the U.S. mainland, or are shot down trying. Aegis-equipped destroyers off both coasts engage with SM-3 interceptors. In Florida, a Patriot battery outside MacDill Air Force Base lights up a cruise missile in a fireball over Tampa Bay.
Start the year strong at Planet Fitness. Just $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends January 9th.
This game, you're not ready.
But not everything gets stopped. On the West Coast, the assault is brutal and coordinated. Cruise missiles strike early warning radar arrays in Northern California. Joint Base Lewis McChord outside Tacoma, Washington is hit hard, losing airstrip capacity for hours. The port of Seattle is rocked by 3 precision strikes. A massive explosion ruptures the I-5 corridor just south of downtown, sending an overpass crashing onto the freeway. Drone swarms launched from submarines and container ships descend on Seattle's tech district and emergency response centers. In total, roughly 30 enemy missiles hit U.S. soil. The damage is significant. An oil refinery burns, radar systems are temporarily blinded, and communications are strained. But the strategic surprise fails. Key American assets are still standing, and the defense establishment is already adapting. Day 0, 5:30 a.m. Eastern. U.S. Northern Command, U.S. Northcom, based in Colorado Springs, takes the reins. DEFCON levels are raised to DEFCON 1, the highest level of alert, never before reached in U.S. history. Combat air patrols begin orbiting critical locations: Washington, D.C., New York City, NORAD, Silicon Valley, and nuclear missile fields in the Midwest. But now all eyes are on the Pacific Northwest, where the 7th Infantry Division, 1st Corps Headquarters, Air Force units at Joint Base Lewis McChord, and a few Army Special Forces teams are all—
It's crazy because that's how Americans really are. Yeah, well, I do this shit by myself. Gave me a bunch of guns, some grenades, and they gonna really try to do that shit themselves. They don't give a fuck.
All that stand between the enemy and everything beyond. Backed by assets from nearby naval air stations, it is a thin line of defense, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Reports confirm that the combined Chinese-Russian force has landed at Elliott Bay in Seattle, with amphibious armor rolling off converted cargo vessels under drone and missile cover. Russian Spetsnaz teams in disguise, already pre-positioned, initiate sabotage on bridges and ports. A Chinese carrier task force has pushed into the eastern Pacific, supported by long-range bombers and destroyers fanning southward toward California. The strategy is a classic bite and hold. Seize a key urban center, deny the U.S. access to the Pacific, and use the chaos to push for a negotiated endgame, all before the full weight of American firepower shows up to ruin the plan. Coast Guard cutters and naval littoral combat ships surge toward coastal defense positions. Meanwhile, the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg and the 101st Airborne at Fort Campbell are placed on 4-hour standby. The president, speaking from a secure location, addresses the nation. Hashtag Attack on America and hashtag World War III trend on social media within minutes. TikTok is filled with footage of F-22s screeching over downtown Seattle and fires raging at the port before the cell towers go down. Day 0, morning. As daylight spreads across the U.S., military intelligence builds a clearer picture. The attack isn't just an act of terror, it's a campaign. A coordinated, multi-domain trans-Pacific operation aimed at toppling American naval superiority and establishing temporary occupation of U.S. soil. Enemy forces are launched from multiple platforms: submarines off the coast of Alaska, converted cargo ships near Hawaii, and mid-range bombers operating from the Kurils and Chinese-claimed islands in the South China Sea. There's even a diversionary attack across the DMZ by tens of thousands of North Koreans. Intelligence reveals that in the days leading up to the strike, the enemy orchestrated a massive series of diversionary exercises in the South China Sea and Arctic. They were all designed to pull U.S. carrier groups away from the mainland. Simultaneously, waves of cyber attacks crippled early warning networks, disrupted satellite feeds, and jammed critical communications. American recon assets were briefly blinded, opening up a narrow window for the assault fleets to approach undetected. Early signs suggest that this new axis of upheaval has bet everything on seizing the Pacific and pushing American forces inland and fast. Despite the unprecedented nature of the attack, U.S. resilience holds. Continuity of government protocols activate. Secure networks reroute traffic. Critical command infrastructure deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain and Raven Rock remains intact. This will come back to haunt the invaders. Day 0, 12 p.m. Eastern. By the afternoon of the first day, the Pentagon now sees the bigger play. Enemy amphibious forces have seized Seattle, and naval movements suggest follow-on targets could include the California coastline or Alaska. The Navy responds. Second Fleet races to reinforce the Atlantic coast against any secondary assault. On the Pacific front, the 3rd and 7th Fleets combine assets to initiate Operation Backtide, the campaign to eject Chinese and Russian forces from U.S. waters and prevent further landings. F-35s from carriers in San Diego repositioned to forward bases in Oregon. P-8 Poseidon submarine hunting aircraft fan out to sweep for the enemy's submerged assets. B-52s from Barksdale Air Force Base and B-1s from Ellsworth prepare for standoff strikes on...
Like, bro, the U.S. is a massive landmass, right? We got a lot of fucking land here. You know how filled our air will be if we go to war like this. Like, we have so many jets, so many fighter jets, so many bombers. The reason why it's not loaded like that overseas, because we got to transport that shit there. They leave from bases from the United States, fly over all the waters, land, and still do shit and come back. So picture they coming here. They got to transport all their shit here. And they can't even stop us when we're going there. They can't stop our bombers and shit. So they're coming here, we're gonna fuck their shit up. We gonna sink all their shit. Okay, if you got the Pacific, you got bombers and shit in the Pacific, nigga, we gonna fuck the shit up in the Pacific. We got air forces, we got Air Force Base. We gonna fuck shit up in the Pacific. So what he's saying makes sense. What he's saying makes sense because it's like, bruh, they gotta hit us quick with an undercover attack, blindside us, and hurry up and capture all this shit. If they don't capture it fast enough, once all of our fire force come and like, once we understand what's going on and the fire force comes back and hit, oh, it's over. And we got bases in other countries next to theirs. So we just fuck their shit up. Oh, your military is gone from your home country? You doing a full-scale invasion? Oh yeah, we gonna fuck you up from... Nigga, we got bases in Middle East and in Europe next to you. Yeah, so they can't do that shit. There's literally no way. They can't do that shit.
Suspected amphibious command vessels. On the coast, active duty Army and Marine units rush north to reestablish a perimeter around Seattle. Meanwhile, National Guard units in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho are activated to reinforce and evacuate civilians from projected fire zones.
Yep.
By the end of the first 24 hours, the battle for Seattle is raging. But the United States is not broken. The homeland has taken a hit, but not the kill shot. Day 1. By the end of the first full day of the attack, the United States shifts into an unprecedented defensive posture. The last time America geared up on this scale was after Pearl Harbor in 1941, but even that mobilization was for war overseas. Now Seattle is occupied, the West Coast is bleeding, and the homeland itself is the primary theater. The president invokes the War Powers Act and declares a national emergency. All 50 state governors activate their Army and Air National Guard units. Nearly 325,000 Army National Guard soldiers and almost 105,000 Air National Guard airmen are called up, swelling the ranks of defenders. These citizen soldiers take up defensive positions guarding critical infrastructure, bridges, power plants, communication hubs, and government buildings. In New York City, guardsmen man sandbagged nests across key bridges.
Roku's self-serve ads platform. It's easier than ever with Ads Manager. Sign up today.
Has Kyrie texted you back?
I don't want to talk about it.
How was the math test?
Don't want to talk about it.
Bridges. In Washington, D.C., additional barriers and checkpoints go up around the Capitol and Pentagon. But out west, it's different. The war is right outside. In Portland, troops dig in along the I-5 corridor. In Spokane, air defense batteries sprout around airports. From Eugene to Bellingham, everything is on the line. Seattle, still burning in places, is now a contested urban zone. Joint Base Lewis McChord battled by missiles on day 0, is under partial enemy control, and American units scramble to hold territory south of Tacoma. Civilian evacuations are ongoing, often under drone fire. The goal for the enemy forces is clear: dig in, disrupt reinforcements, and hold long enough to establish a logistical lifeline across the Pacific. The federal government seizes strategic industries under the Defense Production Act, redirecting fuel to military convoys, converting civilian airliners for troop transport, and shifting factories to round-the-clock munitions and drone production.
So pretty much, if we was to ever activate that act of war, all facilities that make clothing, any factory that makes shit, all go to the military. So if you make clothes, you make your clothes to the military. If you do oil, it go right to the military. If you do transportation, like buses, Uber, government transportation, like buses, planes, car, trucks, all for military now. Everything gotta be military. Everything's military now. I agree with that. Everything literally has to go for farms, all that military production. Everything goes towards military.
Civilian air travel remains suspended. Officials are relocated to Cheyenne Mountain, Raven Rock, and other continuity of government sites. Congress meets via encrypted video link, half of its members framed by concrete walls and fluorescent lighting. Domestically, unrest flares near the attack zones. From Sacramento to Salt Lake, sudden waves of refugees test patience and supplies. Curfews are declared in 48 counties along the West Coast. Panic buying empties shelves across the West on a scale not seen since the toilet paper panic of COVID. Day 2. In America, 393 million citizens privately own firearms. Law enforcement
my head, I'm like, bro, where the civilians at? Because bro, listen y'all. If you're not from America or you don't go outside, bro, we have Americans here literally waiting for war. Like bro, you think I'm joking? Their whole life is waiting for war. They got a job, they built bunkers, they bought all this ammunition, they got jars of food waiting to last them for decades. They got farm, they off the grid. They're waiting for a time like this. They're waiting for somebody to invade. Especially the old heads, they're waiting for this shit. That's why niggas older here.
Tightly coordinates with militias and gun clubs to create local quick reaction forces. The enemy has occupied one U.S. city, but the rest are loaded, locked, and spoiling for a fight.
They ready.
With the initial chaos contained, the military shifts focus to fortifying what's left of its beachheads. The top priority zones are the Pacific Coast, the Alaska-Aleutian Corridor, where Russian long-range patrols are actively probing U.S. defenses, and the southwest border. Intel warns of enemy-aligned paratroopers potentially slipping in through cartel-run smuggling routes. The Olympic Peninsula becomes a militarized zone, with coastal artillery batteries emplaced to deny naval access to Puget Sound. Navy SEALs and Marine Recon patrol the San Juan Islands, hunting enemy spotters and submersibles that may have dropped off saboteurs. The U.S. Marines string camouflage javelin and tow launchers along cliff faces, overpasses, and boardwalks. Helicopter units fly interdiction patrols up and down Highway 1, watching for infiltrators trying to outflank the main defense lines. It's rugged terrain, but nothing now is outside the realm of possibility. Major West Coast cities issue partial evacuation orders. Seattle is under duress, but now Los Angeles, San Francisco, and even Anchorage prepare for the worst. In the east, the 10th Mountain Division moved south from New York to reinforce the Carolina coast. The 82nd Airborne remains on standby, its paratroopers sleeping next to their jump bags waiting for the call, likely to Seattle, where every hour counts. By the end of Day 2, over 250,000 active duty troops are arrayed around U.S. coasts, supported by hundreds of tanks and armored vehicles in layered defensive belts. Eyes in the sky, AWACS, drones, and satellites knit together the battle picture. There is no surprise left. Now it's war. Day 3. While the battle for Seattle rages in the north, the enemy tests a new front. In the pre-dawn gloom, a second enemy amphibious task force attempts a diversionary landing near Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The idea is to split U.S. attention, draw forces away from the main theater, and possibly seize a valuable target on the Central Coast. Fast attack craft and modified helicopters skim low over the water, racing toward the airfield, but this time U.S. forces are ready. Avengers and FIM-92 Stinger teams paint the sky with flaming
Texas was feeling unwelcome.
Like, bro,
streaks.
like if you're going to invade the United States homeland, like, invade their homeland, you have to make sure you know what the fuck you're doing. You're going to win. But you gotta know you're going to win. Because based off of World War II, the U.S. don't give a fuck. They're too strong. We're too strong. What you gonna do? Get mad? Okay. What? You want to talk about how you don't agree with us? Who gives a fuck? Who cares? Oh, that was wrong for what you did. Do something about it. Fight us. Go to war. You don't want to. You can't. Oh, okay. Okay, so what? So what? Yup. So what? That's pretty much the ego we have. That's the ego the United States have. We have the strongest military. We're the strongest. We can have that ego. It fucked up, but we can have that ego.
Choppers spiral into the ocean. AC-130 gunships, protected on all sides by squadrons of F-35s, shred boats and commandos alike. On the sand dunes below, Army Rangers from the 75th Regiment lay in wait. The fight is brutal, intimate, and short. Dozens of enemy special operators hit the beach and are met by machine guns, mortars, and a wall of steel. The engagement lasts less than 2 hours. The survivors are zip-tied and medevaced out before sunrise. Enemy survivors are interrogated by Chinese-American students recruited from California's best colleges and reveal that Seattle is only the beginning. The plan is to fortify the city, reinforce it from the sea, and establish a long-term liberated zone meant to fracture U.S. logistics and morale. Smaller landings may continue to test the coast, but Seattle is the main effort. U.S. Northern Command reacts accordingly. The 1st Marine Division repositions to the Los Angeles Basin. The 3rd Infantry Division rolls west from Georgia, its tanks placed on rail cars and freighters. Meanwhile, air defenses tighten across the west. Patriot and THAAD systems ring Los Angeles and San Diego. Combat air patrols stack over the Pacific like a giant spiraling corkscrew of steel. Carrier groups, USS Carl Vinson, USS Theodore Roosevelt, and USS Abraham Lincoln, fan out along the Pacific to intercept follow-on waves. 2 additional carriers head toward Hawaii and Guam to cut off enemy reinforcements. Putting aside a recent spate of political squabbles, Canada is the first major ally to join the fight. CF-18s fly combat air patrols out of Vancouver.
Well, we wasn't getting a fight. We wasn't getting a fight right now. I don't think Canada would help.
NATO AWACS aircraft arrive
Technically, we don't need Canada, but I don't
from
know.
Europe to boost radar coverage. Japanese destroyers form a joint task force with U.S. ships to push eastward and begin clearing the Central Pacific. Over 500,000 American troops, active duty, guard, and reserve, are now deployed across the U.S., including all 3 Marine divisions and multiple armored divisions. Nearly 1,500 fighter jets dominate American skies, while over 100 Navy warships and 60 submarines form an iron wall around the continent. Missile defenses blanket key regions, and NORAD's integrated network ensures that any new threat is rapidly intercepted. The enemy's surprise has failed. The Seattle beachhead holds, but it is isolated, bleeding and crumbling under pressure. Reinforcements are cut off. Naval superiority is slipping from their grasp. The bite and hold strategy is becoming a death trap. Day 3. Having blunted the initial attack and solidified the defensive lines around the West Coast, America's strategy pivots. It's time to hit back. The Seattle lodgment is holding for now. Enemy forces are isolated behind U.S. lines, hundreds of miles from reliable reinforcement. And out at sea, their plan is unraveling. The home turf advantage pays dividends. American logistics are humming. Railways, highways, and forward-deployed bases are feeding the front line faster than the enemy can react. The Russo-Chinese gamble now faces a brutal truth. Time and mass favor the United States. Drawing from the World War II Pacific playbook, the U.S. doesn't just aim to contain the threat, it aims to erase it then turn the ocean into a graveyard for any follow-up force. Day 4. At dawn on Day 4, America unleashes hell. B-2 Spirit bombers of the 509.
I don't know if they would even last to Day 4. I think the invasion, they will stop the invasion before Day 4. I don't think it will last.
Ninth bomb wing lift off from Whiteman Air Force Base. Their mission is to decapitate the enemy's floating command structure off the West Coast. The stealth bombers ghost across the Pacific, nearly invisible to radar, before releasing precision JDAMs directly onto 2 Chinese and Russian command and control ships. Simultaneously, B-1B Lancer bombers from Dyess Air Force Base swoop in low and fast from the southern corridor, each carrying a dozen LRASM anti-ship missiles. At a pre-programmed range, they unleash their payloads, sending dozens of autonomous sea-skimming killers racing toward enemy destroyers and troop transports. From beneath the waves, Virginia and Los Angeles-class attack subs, staged near Hawaii and the Channel Islands, fire volleys of Tomahawk cruise missiles. These strike not only naval assets, but also the floating pontoon resupply bases the enemy had begun building to support their occupation of Seattle. Off the coast, the controversial, underperforming USS Zumwalt has its day in the sun, raining down hypervelocity rounds on enemy ships attempting to sneak reinforcements toward Oregon, obliterating the superstructure of a Russian landing vessel from 1,500 nautical miles away. The enemy is outgunned, outflanked, and increasingly out of options. By midday, the enemy Pacific Fleet is in shambles. Infrared feeds show ship after ship burning, breaking apart or retreating at speed. An enemy aircraft carrier takes multiple hits and lists fatally, becoming a floating wreck. 2 transport ships carrying armor for a planned second landing near Coos Bay are vaporized before they reach landfall. By nightfall, the organized invasion is effectively dead at sea. Day 5. Despite the naval bloodbath, a desperate remnant of the enemy plan pushes forward. In a desperate bid to salvage their crumbling offensive, a reinforced enemy Marine brigade lands at Huntington Beach, just south of Los Angeles. Before dawn, landing craft and low-profile armored hovercraft churn through the surf under covering fire. Explosions rake the boardwalk. Hundreds of enemy troops spill onto the sand, overrunning a beachfront hotel and hoisting their flag over its shattered balcony. Civilians scatter under gunfire as drone footage captures the eerie sight of foreign armor crawling down Pacific Coast Highway.
Parents, if your child plays Roblox, listen up. You could qualify for up to $300,000 or more in compensation. If your child was
Highway. For a few chaotic hours, it looks like the enemy might carve out a second beachhead, but the illusion of success vanishes by midday. The 1st Marine Division, based just 60 miles south, surges into action with the California National Guard at their side. M1A1 Abrams tanks slam into the invaders from the north, while Army Stryker brigades close off escape routes from the east. Apache helicopters hover low, raining down Hellfire missiles as AC-130 gunships orbit above. By nightfall of Day 5, the Huntington incursion is crushed. A few desperate holdouts hole up in parking garages and a Target store, but Marine fire teams sweep them up by morning. Drones broadcast footage of disarmed, zip-tied prisoners slumped on the boardwalk. It's the first time a foreign ground force has flown its flag over a major U.S. city since 1814, and it lasted less than a day. Day 7. With the homeland secured, the gloves come off. The Pentagon finally unleashes the remainder of Operation Backtide, a full-spectrum offensive to destroy the enemy's ability to ever attempt such a campaign again. Ohio-class submarines hidden deep in the Pacific and Atlantic receive their launch orders. From undisclosed locations, they ripple fire over 400 Tomahawk missiles at naval bases, radar.
You know, crazy. Ohio is landlocked. Ohio's a landlocked state, but we do have one of the biggest air forces. Bases here.
Arrays and airfields across the enemy coalition's Pacific launch zones. Military ports in the South China Sea, Siberian Far East, and select bases near Vladivostok vanish beneath plumes of white-hot precision fire. Simultaneously, B-52 Stratofortresses operating from under fire bases in Guam, Diego Garcia, and Barksdale Air Force Base conduct long-range bombing missions. They release not only conventional ordnance but leaflet bombs, rebooted PSYOP classics warning enemy civilians of what their leaders have unleashed and urging them to surrender. U.S. Cyber Command goes on the offensive. Entire enemy grids blink out. Trains stop. Aircrafts are grounded. Communication systems go dark. American-backed insurgent groups within the enemy's borders suddenly come alive with newfound support. Meanwhile, U.S. Special Operations Forces clean up the remaining threat vectors. Navy SEALs sweep through the San Juan Islands and Olympic Peninsula, flushing out embedded enemy forward observers. In Alaska, Army Special Forces conduct high-altitude insertions to eliminate surviving Spetsnaz teams hiding in mountain outposts. The tide of war has fully turned. The Seattle front has been isolated and rendered unsustainable. Reinforcements are not coming. Ammunition is running dry. Aerial resupply is impossible due to American air dominance. Enemy units begin to surrender in small groups. Others fortify for what they know will be a massive combined arms assault in the days ahead. Behind the scenes, U.S. officials communicate a quiet but unyielding ultimatum to the aggressor nations through neutral intermediaries: surrender or risk annihilation. The U.S. nuclear arsenal remains untouched but unmistakably ready. Week 2. With the West Coast stabilized, the Seattle invasion contained, the United States pivots into the next phase: sustained defense, overwhelming industrial mobilization, and the methodical dismantling of any remaining threat. The homeland still bears the scars of invasion: bombed ports, burned bridges, bullet-pocked storefronts. But now it's about keeping the initiative and grinding the enemy into submission. Seattle remains contested but surrounded. Joint Base Lewis McChord is under U.S. control again, and cleanup operations sweep through Tacoma's industrial zones. But America's defense planners aren't taking any chances. Fortress North America becomes a reality. Thousands of troops reinforce Guam, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico, ensuring no follow-up strike can threaten American logistics again. The Panama Canal, critical for shifting carriers between the oceans, is placed under U.S. military protection, with full Panamanian cooperation. Surveillance assets are deployed throughout the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, watching for any surprise sub-launched attacks or rogue infiltration units. The Rio Pact is activated. Canada, already all in, reinforces Vancouver and Nova Scotia. Mexico deploys elite counter-cartel troops to secure its northern border and cooperate with U.S. units in California, repelling enemy infiltrators. Brazil and Colombia offer basing rights for reconnaissance flights and naval refueling. On the home front, the Space Force begins to prove its worth. Quick-launch surveillance satellites replace those lost in the early ASAT attacks. GPS and comm satellites are hardened and monitored 24/7. DARPA's satellite-hopping prototypes are accelerated. An entirely new layer of resilience now orbits the Earth. Along U.S. coastlines, a mesh of over-the-horizon radar and aerostat blimps stretches from Baja to British Columbia. The Civil Air Patrol and private drone enthusiasts patrol the skies. Local sheriffs coordinate boat owners for low-tech coastal surveillance. America's so-called weekend navy of retirees and fishermen. It's a total defense, total effort.
Yeah, pretty much what
Week 3.
All the old heads and all the military people, old heads are military families, are civilians now. And once it calms down, nigga, they gonna start putting traps everywhere. They gonna start surveilling shit. They gonna be questioning everybody. Hey, who the fuck are you? And don't let it be agents, the Chinese who did it. Oh, you Chinese? Yeah, they don't like shit. Motherfucking flashlight. They're like, oh yeah, you Chinese. You Chinese now, aren't you? Yeah, nah, man. Tell you, bro. You can't be
by the full authority of the Defense Production Act, America's industrial might kicks into high gear. Detroit,
like to beat the U.S. homeland, the U.S. homeland has beat itself. We have to have a civil war. If we have a civil war, then the U.S. can fall.
Retools overnight. F-150s pause. In their place are Strykers, Humvees, and Abrams parts. Boeing shifts its commercial production to stealth drones and strike packages. Lockheed's facilities now run triple shifts, with F-35s rolling out in numbers that would make Cold War planners weep with joy. Shipyards in Virginia, Maine, and Mississippi roar to life. Crews sleep in tents beside dry docks. Every damaged cruiser, destroyer, and littoral combat ship from the Seattle theater is repaired or refitted on the East Coast, still relatively untouched by the enemy.
Like, it'd be crazy because no matter what you say, if America really get invaded, no matter you agree with the left side or the right side, at the end of the invasion, every American is literally going to work non-stop to rebuild America and to strengthen our defense. They're going to start having kids go to military school, military defense. They're going to start kids practicing guns. They're going to start changing shit to make sure this shit don't happen again. To try and make sure it don't happen again. Or in lifetimes.
New hulls are laid down.
Man, I'm ready to play some Monster Hunter or some shit. You know, I'm ready to play a war game.
Weeks, not months. Even older mothballed ships are reactivated
under
a modernized
Victory
Fleet program, equipped with modular missile pods and AI-based threat tracking. The Selective Service is quietly reactivated. Draft notices don't go out broadly yet, but specialists are called. Linguists, cyber experts, mechanics. Still, volunteer enlistment skyrockets. Boot camps overflow. Veterans re-enlist. Energy and agriculture stay stable, thanks to the geographic luck of an intact homeland. There is no famine or fuel shortage, but Americans willingly shift into war mode. Fuel is rationed, lights dim earlier, Victory Gardens sprout in the suburbs. Meanwhile, the Pentagon's black budget labs go white hot. DARPA rolls out deployable micro-drones for urban surveillance. AI-powered threat assessment tools are tested in live scenarios around Seattle. Prototype loitering munitions see field trials outside Tacoma. small, smart, and deadly accurate. Silicon Valley, mostly spared from the early missile strikes, shifts gears too. Tech bros become digital defense contractors overnight. Logistics AIs are spun up to route supply chains with precision. Coders rewrite battlefield communication systems on the fly. Cybersecurity firms swarm every U.S. network like white blood cells. And the world has seen enough. NATO Article 5 has been fully activated. UK warships join U.S. carrier groups in the Atlantic, chasing down what's left of the enemy's transoceanic support flotilla.
Granger
so
knows
crazy,
that as an
bro.
HVAC technician, the heat
Like
is
that's
on
really
you
happened,
every
bro.
day.
Like the U.S. would
First
change.
call,
I'm saying, bro.
an
Like
office building with a
the
noisy
U.S. would
AC
change,
unit.
bro.
Time to
German and French fighters rotate through Iceland and Nova Scotia. Polish troops redeploy and train alongside Americans in the Indo-Pacific, preparing for expeditionary joint missions. In the Pacific, Australia and Japan become strategic linchpins. Australian F-35s fly long-range patrols over Micronesia. Japanese destroyers team with U.S. 7th Fleet assets to wipe out remaining enemy submarines near the Kurils and Taiwan Strait. Global sanctions obliterate the invaders' economic lifelines. Even formerly neutral nations freeze trade, expel diplomats, and join in coordinated cyber and financial strikes. In the enemy's capital cities, empty store shelves and rolling blackouts cause unrest. The war they thought would break America is now breaking them. Week 4. Back home, life finds its new normal. Schools reopen with armored buses and emergency drills. College students stream into ROTC programs. National holidays now come with speeches and flyovers. The war has become a part of daily life, but it hasn't crushed it. If anything, it's clarified what matters. Despite growing confidence, U.S.
In low-key make everybody come together. There will still be argument, yes, but it'd be too much devastation. Way too much devastation. And it'd be like everybody come together. Everybody will agree with armored buses. Everybody will agree with military kind of like roaming. They will agree with microchips. They will agree with it. Then eventually people be like, no, invasion of privacy, blah 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 blah. But then we gonna question it like, bro, nah, we just got hit. Nah, we just got invaded, bro. No, we gotta prepare for this shit. It's because a lot of people won't be prepared for it. People who don't agree with guns will start having guns in their houses. People who are scared to fight gonna want to fight now. That's one thing about the U.S. Whenever they get hit, they come back with some crazy shit.
Defense planners remain on high alert. Intelligence suggests the enemy may attempt a rogue special operations mission or even a retaliatory missile strike out of desperation. Patriots, THAADs, Aegis Ashore batteries, and NASAM systems ring every major city. Israel shares Iron Dome technology. DC alone has more firepower aimed at the sky than many entire countries. Northern Command initiates mass casualty preparedness drills in every state. Hospitals expand surge capacity. Emergency communication networks are stress tested. And in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle remains a priority. It's still not completely cleared, but fully surrounded, under constant surveillance and undergoing phased liberation one block at a time. The only thing not returning to normal is the defense posture. That's permanent now. Fortress America has emerged not just as a doctrine, but a reality. End of week 4. A month into the enemy's ill-advised experiment, American forces are still surging outward. Supply lines are humming. Allies are aligning. The war may still have chapters left, but the strategic trajectory is no longer in doubt. Whatever comes next, be it negotiations, collapse, or deeper conflict, the United States now dictates the pace. Its enemies are reeling and retreating.
It will be an invasion. If they once they get Seattle back, it will be an invasion. If they had China and Russia had to pull all their troops back and shit, the U.S. gonna invade. They gonna recover and invade them like it did Japan. You gonna invade.
The bite and hold invasion of Seattle was supposed to shock the world, and it did, but not how the aggressors imagined. Instead of breaking America's will, it reignited it. Instead of fracturing the alliance system, it unified it. The enemy fleet was shattered, their elite forces overrun. Their attempt to hold U.S. territory lasted 6 days, and it ended with zip-tied soldiers in the surf. In military parlance, it was a decisive strategic failure. Now go check out USA and NATO versus Russia and China. Who would win 2025 edition? Or click on this video instead.
Hey, W video, y'all. W video, man. Like I said, I know for a fact they can't get here. The only way they can get here is they destroy us from the inside out. That's the only way they can get here. Other than that, I don't see a way they can get here. And even if they was to invade Seattle, bro, our civilians would just fight back. So many people from other states that live off the grid, like they would just flood. They hear an invasion, that siren go off, bro. They going to panic, and people who's waiting for that shit is gonna get up, drive whatever vehicle they go. They're gonna smack. They're gonna put all American shit. They're gonna put the army on, all that army. They're gonna try to blend in all that shit, put the American badge on. They're gonna go. They're gonna fight. They're gonna fight. They're gonna be civilians versus them. They're gonna fight. And that's another reason why it's really hard to invade us, because it's like civilians, bro. We got weapons. Like we walk around with military shit in the streets. Niggas got bombs and grenades and making Molotovs. They making bombs in their basement. We get bomb threats in every single school of a damn time. Kids are making bombs in their basements. You see, they don't want to test that shit. There'll be kids trying to sneak on the military bases. People trying to like just go. Oh, we gotta blow up this boat. We got. I've been watching them. Some old head dude. I've been watching them. Act like a civilian. Been watching them for blah 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 blah. They couldn't track. They pay me no attention. I've been watching their little camp right here. I set traps. I set bombs. Doom. It's like because they're sitting there. And people set up camps to watch out for other military people coming, not civilians. So when civilians come, they might be trying to do shit, kind of like the Middle East. But America is different because in the Middle East, it's hard for them to get weapons. But the United States, people already got it. They already got booby traps down. W video, man. W video.